It took quite a few months to actually get me into school. So I think it was year 8 when I started. It felt a little bit like there was a lack of support sometimes from regarding the fact that I had a cultural change, scenic change, and language barrier as well. But I think I settled in after a while. I settled in pretty quickly, and I kind of found my place, and it went pretty well from there. So, all good in the end. I think for me, it was when I first started really being able to keep up with other kids, just because when there was language barrier, it pretty much affected all my subjects, other than say maths, maybe the least, but especially things like science. I didn't know any of the terms in English, and so everything was really confusing. I think the thing that really helped me was once I found a sort of friendship group, I think I felt a lot more confident in that sense, and so it felt less like a daunting new place, and I got to know the teachers a bit more, and I started seeing them after school, saying I really didn't understand anything, can you go over that with me again? And so I found that maybe because it was a state school, a lot of the teachers were quite invested in a lot of their students, so actually if you asked for extra time and extra support, they readily gave it to you. I think for me, coming from a town that was so predominantly white, it was a bit strange seeing such a diverse community. So it was, I'm not sure if cultural shock is the right word for it. It's more of a, big scenic change of everyone here. It was completely different. There were so many different cultures and everything mingled together. But I think in high school, at least in our high school, there wasn't really much of a racial divide, I wouldn't say. There was no cliquey theme going on in terms of race. People would mingle with other races. Most friendships groups were completely multinational. So I think I didn't really feel much of a racial kind of impact in high school, at least. I pretty much decided early on that it was mostly from just the community around me that I was told, professions like doctor, lawyer, engineer are the way to go if you want to be successful. And those are still the kind of societal levels of success that we still hear about. So I pretty much just thought, doctor, I like helping people, and just set on that and just went go, and that was it. At school I liked a lot of subjects. I liked the sciences, I liked maths, but I also liked art and music, so there was just nothing in particular that stood out to me, just because I enjoyed a lot of it. So I pretty much just stuck to medicine because I was just told it was a good job, and so I was like, why not? And I went with it. And it must have been around year 8 or year 9 where I told a person from the same ethnic background that I wanted to be a doctor, and I kind of expected the whole pat on the head kind of, oh that's great kind of response, and the response was, oh are you sure? That's quite a heavy choice to make. And I just never really considered what life would be like as a doctor, and whether that would be for me. Any profession has its advantages and disadvantages, and so I just never really thought about what I would actually be doing as a doctor. I think the only thing that I really got was the validation from choosing medicine as a career path. So it was, whether it was school, community-wise, everyone was encouraging. So I thought I was doing the right thing, but day to day, it didn't seem like something exciting. It wasn't something like I was looking forward to, other than maybe the glamorous aspects. And then, so when I really started thinking about it, I just thought, maybe that isn't for me. And that was just a thought that was kind of back in the back of my head. But it panicked me a little to just let go of that idea that I had in my head for so long, to just leave it behind and start with a fresh slate. So I kind of kept sticking to it for a while, until I just kind of started reevaluating and going over, what could I be doing? What are the kind of things I enjoy? And at that time, it just happened to be astronomy. And so I just ran with it. And I think I stopped trying to make really long-term career decisions, because I think I started realizing that you can't really make choices for someone who you aren't yet. So I just kind of went, okay, this isn't me selling my life away. I'm just going to choose what I like right now and, go with that for now and see what kind of opportunities it opens up in the end, and then choose whatever I like from there. And that's pretty much how I've made most of my choices since then. I think it came from when I was quite young. My parents often took me to the library. Education was always enforced. So I just took, I think they were called eyewitness books. I'm not sure if they're quite old books, so I'm not sure if they're still around. But they were little science books that were just on little topics like, dinosaurs, with all the big pictures and a few sentences. And I just remember I got loads of those because I love just like dinosaurs and Egypt and ancient Egypt and all of those, fancy kind of eye-catching topics. And then I saw one that must have been on planets or some sort of astronomy one. And I remember actually asking my mum, being like, oh, this is really cool. Is there a job that I can do with this? I want to do something on that. And her kind of not being aware of one, being like, I don't think so. And after that, I just kind of forgot about it. It was just kind of never really there. I saw quite a few documentaries here and there on TV, but it was never something that I considered as a profession. And I think it was really just when I got into high school in the UK where I just must have mentioned astronomy, just passed by, and someone picked up on it and be like, oh, that's really interesting, that's really cool. Is that something you want to go into? And then I just kind of went home and, the power of the internet, I Googled I think I just Googled something like how to be an astronomer and just clicked on the first link and, scrolled through the page. And that's when I started just going on to question forums and reading answers that different people were suggesting. And I found someone suggesting, why don't you try out an astronomy GCSE? It's self-taught. There's this guy that gives you, that you can pay, and he sends you material and he'll help you with the coursework. And so I pretty much just thought, okay, I'll go for it, see how it goes. And then I did my astronomy GCSE just kind of at home, self-taught, and I really liked it. So from there, it was pretty much just, I'll go with it, see where it goes. I went to the examination office to ask them about doing the GCSE astronomy, and the lady there was like, are you sure? You already have a lot of GCSEs. Are you sure you want to be doing this in year 11? And I just kind of went, yeah, that's fine. And, when it got to the GCSEs, I was actually like, oh, maybe maybe I should have had some, foresight here. But I mean, it worked out in the end. And it was one of the exams I had fun doing. I think when I first started really going for the astronomy idea, and my parents realizing that I was really going for the, physics route, and this was not a, kind of me straying from the path a bit. This was a serious change I was making. I think their first reaction was panic a little bit, because it wasn't like I was changing from, doctor to lawyer or one of the other professions that they knew well, but it was just a completely vague kind of concept to them. So they were just like, is this a viable career path, is I think the main thing they were worried about, particularly just because physics in particular doesn't lead to a, other than physicist, it doesn't lead to a direct career path. So I was aware that it opened up a lot of opportunities for you, but I actually wasn't really that sure either at that point what those opportunities were, other than research and academia. But I just kind of went for it. I tried to explain it, but I don't think at that time I did a very good job. But I was lucky enough to have teachers that would, talk to them, explain it to them. And then they kind of, I think, they were still worried, but eventually they just kind of thought, okay, we're going to trust you in your choices. And, you've made choices before based on your own observations. So we'll just have to trust you on this one, and just kind of ran with it, I guess. I mean, they're still, I think, a bit shaky sometimes. They're still like, what are you actually, do you get paid? What are you doing? But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. I think for my parents, a big factor in allowing me or trusting me to do physics was seeing people within our own culture, so within our own ethnic background, who were clearly very well educated and clearly knew what they were doing in their eyes, either allowing their children to do physics or a similar career path, or supporting that idea of me doing physics. I think that really helped them solidify it in their head, at least. So I had a maths teacher who was Tamil, who, told my parents, that this is a viable career path, although it will be very difficult. And my mum actually, so we went to a party or wedding or something of the sort, and we met my mum's old teacher from high school, and her daughter was actually doing a PhD in physics. And so, my mum was chatting to her and was mentioning that I also wanted to do physics of my own accord. And then the teacher was actually very positive about it, and I think that kind of helped reassure my parents in that sense.